oil forecast says that they will increase oil revenues 80% by 2023. They say that will come from charging $75 per barrel. So what is the energy outlook for 2018? Let's bring in Stephen Schork, the editor of the Schork Report. Hi, Stephen.
Hello, great to be here.
We've seen the Saudis make a lot of rosy forecasts before, but that aside, what do you make of this $75 per barrel target that they're putting on oil?
Right, that target goes out to 2023, Cheryl, and we have to keep in mind the only reason why we have long-term economic forecasting is to make astrology look respectable. So I'm quite skeptical that we can get that high within the next 5 years. We have to keep in mind how the market has changed over the last 5 years just alone. Now, you have to keep in mind that there are two things that impact consumer behavior or the elasticity of demand for any given good, and that is, first and foremost, price shocks. Now, in the oil market, we've certainly, for the last 50 years, have had our share of peaks and troughs in this market, but up until recently, we've never had the second variable in that equation, and that is the substitute. And of course, what I'm talking about is the growth, the rapid growth, and the continued growth of electric vehicles, of driverless technology, and so forth. So why supply, and as you said, we're at a record high, and we're certainly going to surpass well above 10 million barrels production here in the United States next year. Supply will continue to grow, but we're not going to see the commensurate increase in demand as we've become accustomed to in the past. So that said, as we wean ourselves off of oil, and let's keep in mind, major U.S. oil companies or major oil companies in the West are now rebranding themselves. They're no longer identifying themselves as oil companies, but rather natural gas companies. And we even had an announcement last week by the state-owned oil company of Saudi Arabia, that is Aramco, that they're indeed expanding into natural gas as well. So we're in this seismic shift now. We're getting ourselves away from crude oil, more towards natural gas, and hence I do think that will keep a limit on how high prices can go in the foreseeable future.
I want to ask you about the dollar, but real quick, you mentioned Saudi Arabia, and I want to follow up on that because there seems to be there is political instability in Saudi right now. Yes. You've got Prince Al-Walid basically in jail, which is the Ritz-Carlton. You know, they're asking, he's worth more than $18 billion. They want him to fork over $6 billion. He's saying, I don't think so. But what do you make of what you're seeing in Saudi and with the family there, the royal family? Could this destabilize the oil market in any way?
Absolutely, Cheryl. I think that is the biggest black swan looking forward to the new year. It is the upheaval, as you said, within the royals there in the kingdom. You also have the growing rift and Saudi Arabia dislocating itself from Qatar and pushing basically Qatar over into Iran's hands. So what we've seen over the past 2.5 years is the widest chasm we've ever seen between, and I call it the Sunni side of OPEC and the Shia side of OPEC. And certainly as that chasm begins to grow, and we've already seen, and this is something I forecasted in the Daily Report 2 years ago when the Obama administration decided to give Iran the green light on building a nuclear weapon, is you were going to see this chasm continue to grow, and you were going to see a greater coalition between the Sunni side and Israel. So at this point, the sides are being drawn, and certainly you do have the seeds for a potential upheaval in that region of the world, and certainly that would only be perceived as bullish for the market. So that is the big question. That is the big worry for the new year.
Stephen Schork, I really appreciate your perspective on this. And you're right, you did call that a couple of years ago. I remember that. Stephen, thank you very much. It's good to have you on.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, Stephen Schork, the Schork Report. Take a look at the Dow 30 right now. You got Nike, Goldman Sachs.